We are Southeastern 16 as we're talking Florida Gators football. There's a lot to talk about when it comes to the Florida Gators this time of the year, especially off of the end of last season of the 2024 season. And to talk about Florida football, Keith Niebuhr joins us. He is with GatorsOnline.com. Keith, it is great to talk with you today. How are things down in Gainesville, Florida?
Yeah, it's good. It's good. Actually, I live a couple hours south of Gainesville, but the vibe in Gainesville has been extremely positive. I mean, look, you just had a basketball team win a national championship. So at the spring game a couple weekends ago, there was just more energy in Gainesville than we have seen in a while. And it really started, Chase, back when Florida beat LSU last fall. You know, they were looking like they were headed toward another losing season. They won that game, and there was a real energy in the stadium before, during, after the game. Then they followed that up with a win over Ole Miss. Then they beat FSU. Then they beat Tulane. And next thing you know, you've got an 8-5 season when everybody's thinking you're going to go 5-7. So it really kind of changed the vibe around town, the energy around town, the energy within the athletic department, the energy within the Florida football building. And so it was, I think they believe, probably the most productive spring they've had there in a while.
Yeah, it's good to hear. And I think a lot of people were interested this spring about DJ Lagway, and obviously did not throw in the spring game, battling through that. What do we know right now about DJ Lagway, and what was kind of the thoughts on him out of the spring?
Well, yeah, I wish we knew more, to be honest with you. But Billy Napier, said right on the first day of spring, look, he's not going to throw this spring. It's precautionary. There's still a lower body issue. There is also a shoulder issue, and they didn't really want to have it get any worse. Okay, so long-term, what does it mean? I can't tell you. I don't know. I mean, there are laws. They only can tell us what they want to, or only have to tell us what they want to tell us, right? But what Billy Napier said moments after the spring game, or it's about an hour after the spring game a couple weekends ago, was that DJ Lagway would be throwing again in 2 weeks and would be 100% good to go by the start of the season. Now, can only take him at his word. We'll see how that goes. I mean, look, for me, though, it's still significant that he didn't throw in the spring. Now, he was able to mimic all the quarterback's actions. He stood behind them in practice. Everything they did, he mimicked it. He just didn't throw a football. So if they handed off, he handed it off. He was in all the meetings, obviously. I mean, all the stuff you'd think he'd be doing, he was still doing. So I'm sure he learned a lot. But, man, there's nothing that beats reps. I mean, remember, coaches, Chase, are the ones that tell us how important practice is. So in the one breath, they can't tell us it's the most important thing in the world, which is what they do tell us. And then in the other say, it really wasn't that important after all. So we know that there is a high level of importance to get repetitions. And so where did he struggle last year? I mean, he did a lot of things well, let's be honest. But there were a couple areas that he probably needs to continue to evolve as a player. Obviously, he was a true freshman. So one of them being off-platform throws. Sometimes when he'd be scrambling around, those little short throws didn't have much spin on them, right? And so you always need that good spin on the football. So that's something he needs to work on. And then the other thing was just when you talk about reading defenses and things of that nature, Chase, his interceptions generally tended to be throwing across the body and over the middle. Well, that's a thing that guys can get away with in high school, but can't get away with at the higher level. So the question is, how much did missing that developmental 4-week window of the spring set him back, if at all? I mean, football now, college football, is a year-round deal anyway. They're going to have OTAs, which for those of you that don't know, that's kind of an NFL term, organized team activities. I've heard different, but that's essentially what it means. Those start in June. They've got, fall camp all through August, preseason camp. So, the feeling at Florida is it's not going to set him back too much. But, he's got to get out there and do it, right? He's got to get out there and do it. He looks like he's in the best shape of his life. So there's something you can say that, okay, he didn't practice, he didn't throw, but he ran, he did everything else. But, he looks like he's in great shape. He's become more of a vocal leader. So there's a lot of pieces there. And he showed enough last year that would make you think the jump from year 1 to year 2 could be and should be significant, as it is for most great players. But again, it's a little bit of a leap of faith for us, you, me, the fans, because he didn't get out there this spring and throw the ball. So everybody's going to be curious to see how that goes. But again, I'm talking in circles here. Florida's optimistic. They don't seem to be overly concerned at this time. We'll see.
And I think, obviously there's a lot around DJ Lagway. It's not just a one-man show. Who are some guys maybe that stood out this spring that the Gator fans can be excited about, whether it's running back, receivers, just kind of pieces around the quarterback DJ Lagway?
Well, look, they've got a lot of good pieces. You look back to last year's team, and they didn't have a lot of all-conference players. They had like a couple. They had one All-American, the center, Jake Slaughter. He'll be back. You've got 4 out of your 5 starting offensive linemen. The question is, where were they last year? Were they the 10th best offensive line in the SEC? Were they the 8th best? And I say that because, to really compete for championships, which is what Florida expects and wants to do, you need to have an elite offensive line. So can that group take that big jump forward? They hope so. But Jake Slaughter, the center, and the left tackle, Austin Barber, who's a 3-year starter, are kind of the 2 guys to watch there. But in terms of playmakers, it all starts at the receiver and running back positions. Obviously, those are the guys getting the ball. But at running back, you've got Jaden Baugh, all SEC freshman pick last year at over 670 yards. He is back, and he'll share the carries with a guy named Jacoby Jackson, who really wasn't even a guy that was expected to do much last year. But through different injuries, he got his chance and ended up carrying the ball close to 100 times for over 500 yards. So those are your top 2 running backs back, and they both showed some things in the spring game. Just a spring game. You always have to throw that out there. Coaches will tell you that a good practice is more valuable than a spring game. But Jacoby Jackson had a 90-yard touchdown run in that game, and Jaden Baugh had a reception on a wheel route that covered more than 50 yards, and they both look super elusive. The first guy rarely brings those guys to the ground. So they've got some home run potential running back, and they've really got a deep running back room too. But I'm saving the best for last. At receiver, they've really got some good guys. Everybody knows about Eugene Wilson. He had that great true freshman season a couple years ago. Last year had the injury, ended up taking a red shirt. He's back. He's going to be full speed, full strength by the fall. And that's a guy that's probably going to get you 40 to 60 catches. Very good after the catch, explosive, big play potential. Big addition via the transfer portal from UCLA, receiver J. Michael Sturdivant. As a freshman at Cal a few years ago, had over 60 catches. The numbers started dropping a little bit at UCLA. He had some injuries. Maybe he wasn't utilized the way he should have been, and maybe he didn't do what he should have done, but the numbers did drop. But Florida believes in him, J. Michael Sturdivant, who's over 6'2", over 200 pounds, and runs like the wind. They think he can be that consistent deep threat for DJ Lagway, okay? And DJ Lagway, all the statistics showed last year, was one of, if not the top passer with deep throws, okay? So he needs to have a target there. He has J. Michael Sturdivant. He also has an unbelievably talented true freshman receiver, Dallas Wilson, who in the spring game had 10 catches for over 190 yards. Both were school records for a spring game performance. So he already is playing his tail off at Florida. That gives you 2 big X-receiver outside threats. They can beat you deep. They're big receivers. They're fast. So they're matchup issues for cornerbacks. They like what they have there. Again, like I said, Eugene Wilson, fast. Aiden Mizell is back. He had 17 catches last season. He's got some explosive ability. Tank Hawkins has some explosive ability. And you also have 2 other true freshmen, Vernell Brown III, who's had several family members play for the Gators. One of the most detail-oriented players on the team. He's going to play a lot this year. And then Nashawn Montgomery, who's from Miami Central, he's probably going to play a significant amount this year, maybe a little less than the other guys, but a guy that's got a real bright future. So loaded at receiver, loaded at running back. You've got DJ Lagway. On defense, I would say, and I'm talking on and on here, so stop me anytime.
No.
Some pretty good defensive linemen. Maybe they need more bodies. I think they're looking in the portal for some people there. But look, you've got your top 2 guys as sack producers back from last year. They're both edges. They're just different kinds of edges. Tariq Sapp is your strong side end, and he had, I think, 7 sacks last year. He's back for his final season. And then George Gums, rotating with 2 other outside linebacker edge types, had 5.5 sacks last year. And he just started playing defense a couple years ago. He started his college career as a walk-on receiver at Northern Illinois, now has the best frame, the best-looking dude. He looks like somebody out of the 1980s, like a power lifter. And so he could be primed for a double-digit sack kind of season. So George Gums, I would keep an eye on him. Linebacker room, Florida is very talented, if not deep. Miles Graham, Pup Howard, Aaron Childs, Jade Robinson, freshman Ty Jackson's done a lot. Secondary is a little bit of a concern. Lost some really good players. One guy left, a couple guys left via transfer. You lost Jason Marshall, one of your starting cornerbacks. There's some talent there. There's some youth there. I'm not crazy about the numbers, but the back end of the defense to me would be the big question mark on defense.
And there is a lot to be excited about there in some of those names you mentioned. As far as the transfer portal, we're sitting here recording this Wednesday, April 23rd. So if folks watching this later, if things don't line up with it's college football these days. But as far as Florida in the transfer portal, what are they looking for? Are there specific places you would think, okay, this is a spot that Florida's gonna look to add to?
Yeah, I mean, a couple of them we just mentioned. Defensive line, the interior of the defensive line. So they lost their two nose guards from last year, two big guys. Remember big Desmond Watson? Everybody remembers him, 400 and whatever pounds. But the guy in front of him, Cam Jackson, was really good. He's going to be playing on Sundays probably for a long time. He's about 380 pounds, by the way. Never seen so many guys over 350. But you lost both of them, so you've got to replace them. You've got Mekhi Barrow, who's in his second season in the program, but one guy. You can't have one guy. If you're going to go true nose, you need to have rotational guys. You need to have some sort of rotation, 8 to 10 to 12 guys, and a lot of bodies, because you need to be fresh in the fourth quarter. And I can't imagine there being a more grueling position to play than nose, where you're taking on two blocks almost every play. So they may need some bodies, and they've got some talent. Jamari Lyons, DeAndre Robinson, Brian Taylor, Tavoris Brown. There's some talent there, but they probably need another body on the interior. So they're looking at guys. They were looking at Josh Horton in the portal from Miami, who ended up, I believe, signing with Georgia. They're still looking. I don't have any names for you yet. At safety, they just lost Gregory Smith, who went in the portal. They couldn't kind of get on the same page as him with NIL. And so they're looking. And as we're recording right now, Zaquan Patterson, who played as a true freshman at Miami, is on campus at Florida. Now, by the time this runs, that visit will be over. But that's somebody we're tracking closely. I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up at Florida, probably a Florida Ole Miss battle. You could see Florida add another linebacker. Again, they've got a really good, Chase, I want to be clear. They got a really good linebacker room. I think that's maybe their second or third most talented room on the team. But you got to have more bodies, right? They got to probably have one more guy. So you look there. Tight end is a possibility where you could maybe add someone, maybe on the offensive line. I know people would say, what about quarterback? Well, they had the two guys battling, really three guys battling for the number 2 job, Aiden Warner, Harrison Bailey, the transfer from Louisville, once at Tennessee, and then Tramel Jones, the true freshman. Tramel Jones was not 100% healthy in the spring. The other two guys had hot and cold springs, but both looked pretty good in the spring game. If you brought in another quarterback now, you're talking about he'd have to learn what's considered to be a fairly complicated offense in terms of terminology. I mean, all the offenses are kind of the same, but the terminology. So be coming in late, then he'd be splitting reps with all these guys. It's getting a little late to bring in a guy for a backup role. So I think watch, as soon as I say this, they'll go get a quarterback. But it seems like they're probably what they got is what they got at quarterback, and just kind of roll the dice there. But those would be the positions I would watch: tight end, interior defensive line, linebacker, and secondary, primarily safety. But a lot of that, the Chase, is there's also some element of what may fall into your lap. I mean, if an elite right tackle, right now Florida's got Bryce Lovett and Caden Jones at right tackle. They lost the guy, Brandon Crenshaw Dixon, who was a pretty good player. All right. So they've got these two guys battling, Bryce Lovett and Caden Jones, and Lovett probably has the edge, and they feel comfortable with that. So they're not just going to bring in a portal guy to compete with those two guys. Now, at this point, why ruin the chemistry of the room? Would they bring in an all-conference type right tackle, though? Probably. In other words, so if somebody fell into their lap, you could see, some different positions where they might take some guys. And they're not looking for an edge, but if an All-American says, I want to be at Florida, you're not going to say that. So, but those are the primary positions we're focusing on, the ones I mentioned.
Good stuff there as the Gators have wrapped up spring, and we'll get ready to head into the summer and head into the 2025 season. You can get all your Florida Gators covers there, Gators Online, part of the On3 group there. Keith, appreciate your time today, joining us, talking some Florida football.
I appreciate you having me on, man. Take care, and everybody, thank you for listening.
Absolutely. We are Southeastern 16. We got you covered SEC football, basketball, baseball, and we'll be back with more football coverage very soon. Hit the subscribe button, like this video, share it with your friends, spread the word about Southeastern 16, and we'll be back with more coming up later on.